Well, I thought this might be important. So, because what month is it? Oh, it's only April. April, May, June. Oh, April, May, June. So, school time is winding down, right? You probably have to have your hand your term papers in. Maybe you had to do that already. Um, so this video is about how to get an A on your history term paper, or even your English term paper. Um, Number one, you got to write something that somebody actually wants to read, right? So it helps if your skills in English grammar and composition are not shitty. They might be though. If you're a college freshman, you probably didn't learn jack shit about English in school. Maybe if you read a lot of books, you might subconsciously develop some kind of style or some kind of I don't know what else I could call it, facility towards writing, but it really helps if you learn if you know your grammar. But like I say, the most important thing your teacher will correct your grammar, but the most important thing is to make it an interesting story. So I remember my freshman paper in college, right? I didn't know how to type at the time. I taught myself later on. I printed every tiny letter very neatly. This is like, well, what a maniac. I wonder if I have that all right. I'm not going to look for it now, but like a maniac, I printed every time. I didn't write it in cursive because I'm horrible at that. So, and I wanted to, you got to be able to read a term paper. And I got an A on it because the subject of my paper was what was it? Sex, blood, and drugs in ritual magic. Okay, who's not going to want to read that, right? Sex, drugs, and what else was it? Sex, drugs, and blood in ritual magic it was about Aleister Crowley. And there's probably a bunch of books about Aleister Crowley now. I had his biography, and I think that was about it. I think I just used his biography, and I got an A on that, even though I had to print every freaking letter. But it was interesting. So later on, I wrote articles for military history magazines, 10 cents a word, 4,000 words, $400, and some of them had to be footnoted with a bibliography. I do remember one magazine that the editor just told me write a good story, but I always included bibliographies anyway, and maybe footnotes because that's how I was, it's how I was trained to do it, to write a nonfiction uh, article, and that's called expository writing. So I was good at that because I knew a few, I understood how to write. I guess I would start in media res. That's in media res. That's res. Media res. That means in the middle of things. It's a Latin expression. It means in the middle of things, right? So I would start off with an exciting battle scene, right, and then flash back to what happened to lead up to those events. So that I'm sure that's one thing that got my articles published. All of my articles um, was to start in media race with an exciting battle scene, and then flash back to how you got there. There's another thing everybody likes, whether it's an editor or your history teacher, and that's a block quotation from a primary source. Now, a block quotation is like a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs. I wouldn't go, maybe a page, maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't go more than that. But it's from a primary source. A primary source is an eyewitness source, right? So if you can find um, even the smallest quotation from a primary source, you can stick it in. You got small ones, you can stick them in all over the place. You got a big block quotation of a paragraph or two, you can stick that in, in its entirety. Um, when you got it's got to be exciting. It can't be some bullshit, boring shit. So when you do stuff like that, nobody's going to say, "Hey, this guy stuck this in there because he didn't want to write half a page. He's too lazy to write half a page." No, that's a good thing. Plagiarism and all of that shit is a bad thing. When I was teaching, I had one kid. He worked harder to avoid writing a paper than he would have had to have worked if he had actually written a paper. He tried to fool me at least three different ways. But I'm an adult. I can tell what a 15-year-old is going to write. Plus, these days, if you copy and paste something, all I have to do is copy and paste it and put it in my browser, and it's going to come up where it came from. Okay, he tried that on me. That was simple. That was easy. Then he tried. Then he went to the libraries, and he actually got some books, um, and he took random quotations out of them, not from the text, right, but from the captions of pictures. All right. So it took a little detective work, but I had been a detective before that. I was a private detective in New York City. Uh, so, in fact, my boss told me I have a very analytical mind, which I fucking do. So I found this guy out. He was stealing the captions, and then he was putting in phony footnotes, like page 168 in a book that had like 150 pages. So I found him out. I caught him out. That was twice. Maybe I think he gave up after that. But I worked at a school for mostly rich kids, and the rule was if you didn't turn in a term paper, you didn't graduate. But I don't think the rule applied to this kid because his father was a lawyer and he was rich. So he graduated anyway. He wasn't a bad kid. He wasn't suited for the intellectual side of life. I'm not saying he was stupid. I'm just saying that his bent was otherwise. He liked working on engines and motor vehicles and stuff like that. Okay, so no problem. But you still, he still should have done his term paper. I remember another kid who worked really hard. He was not the smartest kid I ever met, but he was a hardworking kid. I helped him organize his term paper. I showed him how to use block quotes and all of that shit. And he did what I told him to do, and he got an A. So, it ain't brain. Well, expository writing, I got to say, it ain't really brain rocket surgery or rocket brain surgery. Uh, but you do have to, it's writing of history, study of history there's two parts to it. There's the what do you call it? God damn it! Now I forgot what it was. Now what are the two parts? Damn it! Wait a second. I guess there's part of history that is technical, um, and there's a part that's artistic, not autistic, artistic. So you got to have some technical ability, I guess, to learn the facts, and you have to have some artistic ability to disseminate the facts. Um, Most people don't want to read a book that just sets out facts in a factual, dry manner or analytic manner, kind of like James Fenimore Cooper's History of the United States Navy. It's full of facts, but it's just boring facts. It's boring. Um, Unlike his Last of the Mohicans, which is written in a whole different style. Uh, so anyway, you got to know your craft. You have to know the technical parts of it, but then you have to be able to write about it in an entertaining way. So don't forget two really cool things in media race, your flashback, and then damn it, what was the other one? Oh yeah, block quotations from a primary source. You can't go wrong. I got block quotations all over the place in my thesis from Greeks and Latins. All right, that's I bullshit for 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Oh wait, 10 minutes. Wait, over 10 minutes on God knows what.